welcome back to this week's Real Country File. Again, this week we are sponsored by Midland Machinery Show, so thank you to that. And don't forget, it is on this Wednesday and Thursday at the Newark Showground. There's a link below the video of how to go. Anyway, this week, Stephen goes and visits a goat farmer and shows you how to make money with goats on the internet. And Angela talks about different careers there are in agriculture. Anyway, this week I've been travelling through the country, doing some things for NFU and AHDB, that's a bit of a mouthful sometimes, and I visited a guy that was making crisps but in sustainable packaging, so here that is. So I'm in Herefordshire at two farmers hand-cooked crisps, but they have a difference, and what is that difference? So Sean's going to explain.
Our major difference is our packaging. Our packaging is 100% compostable and plastic free. The only crisps that you'll find in the UK, certainly that we know to, and I think pretty much in the world, that's in a 100% compostable packet.
So when you finished eating them, if you wanted to just bury the crisp packet, when you'd come back, what, a year later it'd be gone?
Yeah, it should be gone in years. We say between 26 and 35 weeks, depending on the conditions, the heat in the ground. Everything will act slightly differently depending on the geographical area, but roughly you look at 26 to 35 weeks and it should have gone.
And the making crisps is actually the easy bit, isn't it? It was 6 years to get the packet correct, was it?
Yeah, it was 6 years to get a long time getting the packet right, trying to find something that we could use to not be a plastic bag. So that was very, very difficult. I mean, the crisps, yeah, easy to get right. Do we say easy? But we do pride ourselves on a very high quality crisp, so we put an awful lot of effort into making sure we've got consistently good product.
Yeah, so not only are they putting them in plastic bags that compost, they're also putting them in tins, which you can now see on the screen as well. The whole thing is on the farm where they're grown. So you now actually hold the world record, don't you?
We do, yeah. We've got the world record. It's an unofficial record. It hasn't been put through with Guinness yet, but it's an unofficial record for the fastest of harvesting a potato through the crisp factory, into a van, onto a shop shelf, which we managed to do in 25 minutes, 29 seconds.
And you can actually see a video of that on their Instagram page and their TikTok. So I'll try and put the links below this video so you can have a look at it. But yeah, fascinating looking at the business, looking how it all works and the whole ethos of the dissolvable crisp packet. So thank you, Sean.
No, thank you.
So let's hear from Stephen, who's been visiting a goat farmer in Lancashire.
So I'm Dr. McCarthy and we're here at Cronkshaw farm. Thank you very much for coming, Stephen. So we're a north-facing hill farm up in the South Pennines. Our farm is pretty small. We've only got just under 50 acres here, and then we've got 900 acres of common grazing, which is National Trust moorland. And we are mainly known these days for putting goats on the internet.
You are the famous goat Zoom lady, aren't you? Let's have it right.
That seems to be, unfortunately, what my tagline seems to be in all press-related things now.
Well, that was
goat Zoom
20,000 sales of goats into people's Zoom meetings. That's quite something to be famous for.
Yeah, it's a bit bonkers. So yeah, basically during the pandemic, people were bored. We saw a gap in the market. We were also desperate for cash because we've been raising money. We really want to do something about climate change. I took over the farm about 5 years ago, and the main thing that we want to do is reduce the farm's carbon footprint as quickly as we can so we can address climate change, grow as much delicious and tasty food as we can for the local community, whilst keeping the carbon footprint as low as we can. And yeah, that's it.
So, and I saw you on the BBC The Great Staycation, because that's what, before lockdown, you were, it was all about, was it Airbnb?
Yeah, so basically, when I took over the farm, hill sheep farming, anybody else who does hill sheep farming will know profit margins aren't incredible. So I was like, right, well, if I want to buy renewable power tech kit, it's super expensive. And I did the maths on how long it would take me to save up the money to buy like a heat pump, solar panels for the farm, batteries to store the electric in. And it was, I think, I was going to be 74 by the time I'd saved up for everything. So I was like, oh my God. So yeah, I was just basically trying to think of as many different ideas as I could to save up money quicker. So we diversified into accommodation. It's really beautiful around here. So we've got a tree house, we've got a yurt, we've got a couple of huts. We were renting those out. There was this amazing BAFTA winning TV director who happened to come to the farm on a visit. We do like kids toddler group as well.
Okay.
And she was one of the mums.
Right,
So
okay.
she's like, oh, we'd love to do some filming here. So she filmed the BBC programme about the Great Staycation. So, and then Amazon Prime have now bought that. So that's kind of what originally threw us into the public eye. And we've used all the money off the back of that to save up for renewable power tech stuff. But then COVID came along, so we had to pivot to putting goats on the internet.
So you go from having a yurt and a treehouse to putting goats on the internet. That was through necessity then.
Yeah.
You were, how can I make some more money, I guess? You just have a
pretty much, yeah. So
brainstorm,
literally just basically was like, right, what can we do? I'd just taken on my first 2 employees, which was a bit of a gamble for them because, you know, quite young and, you know, first hires and didn't really know what I was doing. So, like, kudos to them for wanting to work for me. But then literally a few months into their time here, COVID came along. And because I just hired them and they were part-time, HMRC had said, because they're part-time, you don't need to worry about getting them on a furlough scheme.
All right.
And because they weren't on, a payroll scheme, and because they weren't on a payroll scheme, then they weren't applicable for furlough, because they were managing the accommodation and the guests and stuff. So it wasn't agricultural, so it wasn't like key worker stuff. I was still doing the farm stuff. So I had these like 2 amazing employees who were left without any money, and obviously hard to get a job because it's a pandemic. So I'm like, So I was really feeling the pressure to first and foremost provide for the staff that I'd just taken on.
Okay. Yeah.
And I knew I was going to end up having to dip into the savings, which was for the solar panels and the batteries and all the other renewable power tech stuff we want to save up for. And I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to carry on saving up. And so I was just trying to think of like, what can I do to make more revenue that still fits within our aims of being like environmentally friendly. And yeah, for some reason, thought putting goats on the internet was a good idea.
And then loads of people thought, what a great idea. We'll have them in one of our boarding meetings. Not just in Manchester, Liverpool and London, but you are truly worldwide goat farmer now, aren't you?
So, the goats, one of the goats was invited to a Zoom call at the University of Florida. And it's only then that I actually realised how crazy it'd be. Like, so we're doing Zoom calls all day, so that wasn't unusual. It might sound a bit strange, but it was actually the lecturer who was saying, these goats have been in newspapers, 250 different newspapers around the world. And I'm listening, like, whilst pretending to be a goat, like, have we? This is crazy. So it turns out, like, I followed it up with a guy afterwards, and he sent me the Excel spreadsheet that he uses for his students to teach about small business advertising strategies, because apparently ours was very good. Literally, it was complete by accident, so I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, we're in the Sunday Times, the New York Times, the Hindustan Times, the Malaysian Times, Australian national TV, Japanese national TV, German national TV did a documentary, Euronews across the whole of Europe, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post. Actually, Elizabeth the Goat had a double-page spread in Washington.
Really?
It was absolute madness. So,
and that kept you going through lockdown when people couldn't come and stay on the Airbnb. The revenue that you were making from all those people booking a goat to be in the corner of the meetings on the screen, that kept you going. And
more than kept us going. So we had to hire 10 extra employees.
Wow. Yeah. Through lockdown.
Yeah. So I made 35 grand profit in 1 month.
Wow. So you were thinking like, how many goats am I going to have to sell, or sheepdogs? You train sheepdogs as well. How many sheepdogs am I going to have to train? How many lambs and sheep am I going to have to sell off the moors to get? And I'll be 70 odd by the time I can afford to have the renewables on site. And then lockdown happens.
We put some goats on the internet and
boom.
Sorry.
So now, fast forward, we've just seen some of your guests. You've still got your Airbnbs.
Yeah, Airbnbs are still going strong because everyone's coming to visit the celebrity goats now. It's just ridiculous.
That's bonkers, but it's great. It's COP27. Everybody's talking about climate change,
which is
talking
good.
About and everybody's talking about impact. Because of what you've done, then you've the eagle-eyed viewers will be able to see we've got a Tesla in your woodshed that's really quite special. Tell us what we've got here.
Yeah, so long and short of it, we put so many goats on the internet, we made just shy of £200,000 profit. So we've installed a heat pump that powers all the heating farm, so that's all the heating and the hot water. We've installed a 61 solar panel array, and they're about 2 meters by 1 meter, so they're not the little panels, they're the big ones. They're all over the barn roofs. And then we've got 3 Tesla Powerwalls here, which are awesome. Highly recommend you buy one of these. They're about 8 grand, so they are super expensive. 8 grand each, just 3 of them here. And this is an inverter here, so the energy comes in from the solar panels, goes through the inverter. Remember AC/DC, but the other way around. DC to AC.
Yeah.
Goes through, and then anything that needs power on the farm, the solar power goes straight to that. So we've got a light on here, but it's dark right now, so it's pulling the energy from the battery. So first port of call for any energy uses, the solar energy goes straight to anything that's on. So whether it's a kettle or a fridge or a light or whatever. And then if there's any power left over, it fills the batteries up. Once the batteries are full, it sells it back to the grid. So we're actually making a profit.
So you're at this time when energy costs are soaring.
Yeah.
You're winning.
I don't have energy bills anymore.
You don't,
or heating bills.
And a massive part of that is down to the battery technology.
Yeah, solar and batteries. So I have to say again, that was like, I really want to do something about climate change and reduce our carbon footprint. I wanted to do this before, you know, the energy price spikes, everything that's been going on in Ukraine. So as much as I'd like to say I was being very savvy financially, it's just very lucky.
You just had a passion for the planet and for carbon reduction.
If we don't do something about climate change, we're all screwed.
That's part one of my interview with Doc McCarthy. Much more next week on what the next steps are for her farm and what are massive ideas that she's got for going forward for agriculture in this area.
Thanks for that, Stephen. Now, this week, Angela has been looking at different careers in agriculture. It's not just looking after animals or driving tractors. So let's hear that report now. And you can also see the other half of Stephen's report next week.
I'm here today on a farm in South Manchester, and I'm going to have a chat with a chap called Daniel Bennett, who's had a number of different roles throughout his career, all within different avenues within the agricultural industry. So let's go and catch up with him now and have a chat with him about careers in agriculture. All right, hi Daniel, nice to see you here. Now, I know you used to work on this farm, but in the past, you've actually been out and about in all sorts of different countries working in agriculture. So just give us an overview about your career history.
Oh, okay, where do you start? Actually, you can start right back in 1976. That was the year of the Great Drought for those of us old enough to remember, which Angela, of course, you're a long way off that. As a 9-year-old, I was put on a train at Euston Station in London and sent to Crewe. And I was picked up by Auntie Jean, who lived on a farm, and I fell in love with farming. And this is right, you know, we're talking today because we're talking about different careers and jobs. And I went off to the Isle of Man and worked there for a summer on a beef and sheep farm, and then actually went to New Zealand as an agricultural spraying contractor.
Very good. So, but you've actually worked on this farm, as I said before. So, what sort of livestock do they have here?
Okay, so actually, when I came back from New Zealand, I came to work here, and this is a predominantly arable farm, and they have some suckler cows. So we've got a mix here of Aberdeen Angus, but yeah, mainly here it's about combinable cropping. They have some potatoes grown on contract by other growers. But yeah, it was mainly sort of machinery operation, although these lot always provide a great interest and a bit of fun.
So there's obviously the obvious jobs on farms of tractor driving and feeding animals and milking cows and so on. But can you give us a flavour of what other avenues people could consider?
Yeah, so as you say, you know, early in your career, you probably sort of think about being a herdsperson, whether that's milking, you go into sheep, shepherding, and pigs and that sort of thing. And of course, yes, machinery. And yeah, there are so many other opportunities in broader agriculture. And of course, some of that might be through diversified farm businesses. So, for example, here they've got a great diversified business, Cheshire Hay Bale Hire, and so actually, you know, they're spending time talking to the public who want bales and straw bales, particularly for events to sit on, for decoration, and you know, so actually they've started to have to get into using things like social media to actually raise the profile of what they're doing. But that's sort of still very much on farm. But you know, there's a whole huge industry supplies farmers and supplies farm businesses, and that can be from feed and nutrition and health products, right the way through to, you know, obviously machinery. There's the machinery dealerships, but of course there's also manufacturing behind that. Things like fertilizers and agrochemicals. All these things are part of the bigger agri picture, which provides some fantastic careers. And they can be technical, scientific, they can be business orientated or commercial, or they can be marketing. So there's a whole thing around of the future of technology in agriculture, and it's actually known as the Agri Tech sector. which opens up a whole new exciting things for younger people to consider. I mean, in Agri Tech, we can be talking about robotics. And if you think about on an arable farm, if you've got big tractors on soil, that's detrimental to soil health. So using robotics, which can be a lot lighter, that can reduce use of inputs like pesticides, and also it can of course reduce the demand on labour. And as we've already spoke about today, labour is one of the big challenges within the sector. If there's an appeal about the farming, then explore it. There's a lot of opportunity.
So if somebody does want to look at the different avenues of different parts of agriculture and how to get a career within the sector, what sort of advice would you give, or where can they start doing their research?
Well, of course, there's two ways. I'm obviously talk to farmers, Young Farmers Club. Oh, I wish I could still be in the Young Farmers. But actually engaging with that community, obviously social media, but also it's also actually exploring further than that, isn't it? And there's places like Rees Heath College, and there are a number of colleges throughout the around the country. I mentioned Plumpton earlier, still a very successful college. Yeah, they've got lots of guidance on careers in agriculture. We've now got TIA, which is the Institute for Agriculture and Horticulture, which is still in launch phase, but their remit is to actually promote farming and agriculture as a career. So there's all sorts of places where you can actually find this information. Of course, here we are on the Real Country File, talking about these sorts of things as well.
So the best thing is just to get out there and get involved and ask as many people as possible. So as we all think, we wish we were 21 again and could start that journey, because it's a really exciting journey. But thanks so much for chatting to us. It's been really interesting, and let's hope things continue going strength to strength in the farming world.
That's about it for this week's Real Country File. Thank you very much for everyone that's watching, and also thanks to everyone at the Midland Machinery Show who have kindly sponsored this week's episode. I will be there on Thursday to present an apprenticeship award there. So I'll see you there maybe on the Thursday, and if I get a chance, I'm going to call up on the Wednesday as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks to the sponsors. Thanks to everyone that took part, and I'll see you next week.